January 20th, 3 p.m. I woke today to the smell of scorched pork and burnt beans. Von Arkham took the liberty of preparing and ruining breakfast, and serving it to me with a smile. I ate bitterly but did not speak to the fool. The fire on the quarterdeck has burnt out, and Bromberg must be no more than a charred husk by now. It has begun snowing again, so Von Arkham went below to the hold to collect more fuel for our washing basin fireplace. He returned carrying a crate full of Dr. Sutcliffe's notebooks. Were there even the remotest chance of rescue at this point, I wouldn't have allowed him to destroy what I can assume are volumes of the doctor's irreplaceable research, but I know that Sutcliffe will never see those books again, whether we burn them or not. Von Arkham reads through each volume before tossing it into the fire. He laughs at what he reads, sometimes with a slight chuckle, and sometimes with a manic cackle. He is unquestionably mad. What could he possibly find funny about in anatomist scientific journals? Even if the doctor's notes are teeming with whimsy and satire, how can this lunatic find humor in anything when we are stranded in this Arctic hell beneath a heap of my shipmates' frozen corpses? Yet he survives. This mad-hatted buffoon. My friends and comrades, my captain, all dead, but him. He who has no rightful place aboard this ship, he who laughs at nothing. Why does he still live? He is a Jonah. It is he who brought this curse upon our vessel. He sits there grinning like the devil behind his tangled beard and ludicrous goggles. We should have cast him over the side days ago. I should kill him myself. But I won't. Not because I am not a killer. Not because I do not have the strength to do it. Not because I fear loneliness. But because I simply don't care. The both of us do not have long for this world. What does it matter who dies first? January 21st, 7 p.m. It is still snowing. When I woke this morning, Von Arkham had gone below to his cot in steerage. I could hear the madman talking to himself below in that paradoxically jovial tone of his for hours. While he was gone, the utter monotony of these dire straits occurred to me. With each passing day, I am only trying to stave off death by keeping myself warm and fed. The fire was getting low earlier, and we had exhausted our supply of tinder from the doctor's library. Thus I considered tossing this journal into the basin. I was about to do just that when Von Arkham re-entered the berth deck and all but threw himself in front of the basin to save the book. Picking it up off the floor and handing it back to me, the imbecile proceeded to prattle on for a solid hour about complete and utter nonsense. He began with the importance of chronicling one's exploits, went on to list a number of renowned diarists, and then spent 45 agonizing minutes recounting his own alleged exploits. I was only half listening to his insane drivel, but I could tell from what I caught that I had drastically underestimated how deranged he truly is. He spoke of floating cities, mechanical assassins, monstrous creatures from the dawn of time imprisoned beneath the ocean. The maniac says he is from the future, and I truly believe that he was sent by fate to be my tormentor as penance for some past transgression. Heaven knows I haven't led the most pious life, but this seems cruel. He taunts me with his mirth and his derisive grinning. Who is this man? This mad-headed fiend who pays a 4-figure sum for a passage to Alaska on a tramp freighter, then does not panic when it crashes in the middle of the Arctic with no possible means of rescue. There are madmen, and there are men who have gone mad. True, Von Arkham's behavior befits a man who has taken leave of his senses, but his actions do not. Despite his flippant levity, his actions have been methodical, industrious. When the ship went down, he thought to duck inside one of the crates in the hold. He thought to bring up the washing basin to light a fire in. The maverick way he disarmed Pascal. His survival instincts are deft and ingenious, and they do not suit his managed disposition. If this is a facade, what purpose does it serve now? He aided LeBaron in mending the wireless array before it went up in smoke. He was in the engine room with Bergeron and Pascal when the stern went through the ice. Perhaps I'm being overly paranoid, but I cannot help but wonder if all this was somehow his design. I'm sure of one thing, though. For all his talk, there is more that he is not telling me. January 22nd, 1 p.m. When I woke this morning, it had stopped snowing. Von Arkham had gone below again, and the embers in the washing basin were dying. I was beginning to break apart a stool from the galley for kindling, when I detected a noise. Not from below, but from the top deck. It was a faint, coarse rustling sound coming from the direction of the forecastle deck. A sound with the texture of canvas and iron. At first I thought it might be Von Arkham attempting to pillage the corpses of my fallen shipmates. I was about to go topside to confront him when, to my great confusion, I heard footsteps coming up the ladder from the hold. A moment later the scoundrel emerged from the lower hatch, carrying with him a coil of rope. I wondered if a powerful wind could be causing the pile of bodies to shift, but I soon realized that there was no wind to be heard, or at least none strong enough to shift the pile. I thought perhaps there was a large gull that would be pecking at the bodies, and was satisfied with this notion for about 30 minutes, until the sound became more persistent. Beneath it there followed a host of distinct thudding noises that echoed upon the iron deck. I think a seal, or even a walrus, has somehow found its way onto the ship. This seems the most likely explanation in light of the apparent weight behind those thudding noises. It is odd that these noises should be the first signs of this creature's presence. I would think that such a large beast would have made a noticeable din as it climbed up the side of the ship. It sickens me to think that my comrades' remains are to become food for some Arctic carnivore, but the chances of giving them a proper burial were lost days ago. I would go topside and shoo the beast away if I had the stamina. I only hope the wind picks up again before it gets hungry. I don't want to have to listen to it feed. Von Arkham has taken over minding the fire, and in so doing usurped the one activity with which I have been diverting my encroaching despair. And so I shall go to sleep. It is only an hour past noon, but in this nebulous and unending polar dusk it might as well be the middle of the night. Perhaps if I alter my sleeping habits enough, I shall be unable to distinguish dream from reality. And I shall be able to tell myself that this is all just a nightmare. 5 p.m. If, by some strange miracle, these pages ever meet another eye, the reader will not credit what I am about to set down. I can barely credit it myself but for the evidence of my own senses, and even that I cannot, in all faith, put past delirium. I may have very well finally lost my wits for what I heard, and what I still hear. It violates every law of common sanity that I can conceive of. I slept for an hour before I was jolted awake by the sounds above deck. The thudding had become noticeably more obstreperous and alarmingly more hectic. A continuous pounding barrage of impacts rained down upon the forecastle like hailstones. Surely not the spasms of any lone walrus. Driven to investigate, I rose and began to approach the ladder, when Von Arkham uttered a sharp syllable and held up his hand to detain me. I was about to properly remonstrate the fool, when he pointed with his other hand to the top deck and tilted his head, as if to listen. I listened, and heard the harrowing sound of tearing canvas. I heard it 13 times, and then the pounding ceased. There was a brief and muffled shuffling that followed, and then, to my utter debilitating horror, footsteps. Unmistakably, they were footsteps. I stood dumbfounded, staring at the ceiling, but my mad companion calmly stood, picked up the rope which he had taken from the hold, strode to the ladder, climbed to the top, and fastened the hatch closed with the rope. Now he has gone back to minding the fire, as if everything is normal. But I cannot for all my force of will pry my attention from the sounds from without. The footfalls are sluggish and heavy, and they drag along the deck with listless inertia. For the first half-hour they did not stray far from the forecastle. Now they have begun to aimlessly meander around the deck. Their pace is slow, like a funeral march. They do not speak, nor utter voice. They seem thoughtless, whatever they are, for whatever they are. I cannot say. I cannot say. Whatever grotesque notions are festering in the back of my mind do not bear thinking about. I am distressed. I'm not thinking straight. My sense of logic is impaired. Polar bears, perhaps. Yes, they could easily be a family of polar bears. That is why Von Arkham tied off the hatch. Now my companion has produced a deck of cards from his coat pocket and has invited me to play a game of whist. I do not know how to play whist, but he will teach me. It will be a good distraction. Perhaps by the time we have played a few games, the bears will have gone.